Say what?
Say what? Say what?
Welcome to the latest edition of
Say What?
I'm your host, Laura Thornquist, and of course here with me is my beautiful co-host, Julie Williams. You know, it's been a hot minute since our last show, but we are back and we hope better than ever. So we've changed our show a little bit, and today we're going to have 4 segments that you won't want to miss for sure. So hopefully this new format will both be more structured and a little more entertaining. Let's get to it. Now, each episode we strive to entertain and inform, as we've mentioned, and we do our best to ensure you're not only learning more about Energy Ogre, but also important items that you need to know about the electricity industry. Now, at Energy Ogre, we know how important it is to understand the market so you can make the best decisions for you and your family.
Yes, and that brings us to our first segment, which is the question of the week. Recently, we have gotten some phone calls and some social media comments from our members asking about the plans that we've enrolled them in. Some people have asked, why are the rates on Power to Choose lower than the rate of the contract you selected for me, Energy Ogre? Well, here's the answer. We constantly monitor the market and assess all the offers based on your usage specifically. Many times people bring us a lower Power to Choose plan, but based on their usage, they would be paying way more for that plan than the advertised price. For example, the advertised rate may be 8.2 cents, but that's only if you use the right amount of electricity between 1,500 or 2,000 kilowatt hours.
That's right. So say you live in a small home, for example. On your highest month, you only use 750 kilowatt hours. You would be paying 16.5 cents in that plan, even though it's advertised as an 8.2 cent plan. Is not right?
Right.
All right, so these types of plans, they're advertised quite often, and they can be dangerous for the average Texan who's just really not reading the fine print. Fortunately, our members have nothing to worry about because we do all of it for you. Now, saving you time, we save you money, save you the hassle, and certainly save you all those headaches. Right. At the end of the day, you deserve the right plan with the best rate, and we are committed to finding it for you.
Indeed. And speaking of the work that we do for our members, that brings us to our next segment, which is customer service, the Energy Ogre way. In this segment, we want to tell you a story of a recent interaction between a member and one of our talented member care agents who exceeded expectations and went above and beyond to serve their member.
I say day in and day out, our CS members, our member care agents, they have the most important job in this office.
Indeed,
for sure. So one of our great member care agents, Ariel Hall, she recently went out of her way to ensure an existing member was enrolled in a new plan before her contract ended. Now, the member was hoping to talk to an agent as soon as possible to discuss how to address her personal credit freeze. The agent first spoke to Ariel on the phone, and as Ariel walked the member through the necessary steps to have the credit freeze lifted, the process of lifting a credit freeze can be really difficult for some members, and Ariel walked them through step by step. However, time was really of the essence, and so Ariel needed to know exactly when the freeze was lifted to service her account in preparation for the new plan. Well, since we were experiencing a very high call volume at that time, Ariel was concerned that the member just might experience a delay in getting back in touch with her.
Right. So in an attempt to streamline this process for the member, Ariel gave her personal work email address to the member. And that enabled the member to speak directly to Ariel as soon as that credit freeze was lifted without having to wait on hold or on the phone. So the member was incredibly appreciative and left this glowing review.
Quote, Ariel, thank you for your outstanding service. Words cannot express what a pleasure it was to deal with someone of your caliber and excellent work ethic. Your company should know how very lucky they are, we do, to have you as a hardworking, diligent, and extremely pleasant person. Again, thank you. I was very lucky that you were available to answer my call and help me. Keep doing an outstanding job, Ariel. You are a great example to all who work with you.
Yeah, Ariel, clearly, I mean, that member appreciated your hard work, but so do we. And we would like to formally thank you for your wonderful service to our members.
And just remember, as a member, we are your go-between. We are the person you come to, or the company that you come to for any type of issue, any type of problem. That's exactly what we are here to do. So now it is time for our third segment of the show. It's called Jesson's Lessons. I love it, Jesson's Lessons. In this segment, we will bring our CEO, Jesson Bradshaw, in to discuss a popular topic within the energy space. Today, we will discuss a recent NBC story that made claims about climate change and the reliability of the Texas electric grid. All right, so Jesson, Lester Holt recently came to Houston to discuss the Texas grid failure during Winter Storm Uri. Now, Holt talked about how climate change was responsible for Winter Storm Uri. Now, and he also spoke with experts about some potential solutions that could prevent a similar electric failure.
Extreme weather from those hurricanes and winter storms in Texas to California's heat wave last summer that led to rolling blackouts, growing more frequent and severe.
And that has revealed vulnerabilities in our critical infrastructure. Here in Texas, the power grid failed during the deadly cold snap in February. People were trying to heat their homes. Plants couldn't keep up. And that, say experts, should be a warning to the rest of the country.
So do you believe that this is a fair interpretation of what really happened during that time?
We met or broke records that existed in the historical record.
Okay.
So that tells me that it has been that cold here before.
It's happened before.
We've had high temperatures. We had, a very warm summer 2 years ago in the back half of the summer. But it's not as hot as it's ever been here. So,
right.
I think there's quite a bit of variability. Whether the amount of the variability is increasing over time or not it's difficult. That might be the place where you can start to say, hey, we've had more volatility. Maybe the extremes aren't any bigger than they were in the past. There is no question what we experienced in February of this year was a huge outlier. It was a huge statistical anomaly from the types of weather that we would typically see. We've had these kind of polar vortex things occur in other parts of the country, and what happened to us actually was preceded in a lot of the other side of the globe, a lot in Europe and a lot in Russia. They had some of these extreme temperatures as well. There's definitely a sincere interest in advancing, some of the technology infrastructure, but I think sometimes we might associate things that may not be quite as clear.
Right. So next, a former chair of the Federal Energy Regulatory Committee proposed two solutions. First, she says that we need to build better connections between power grids so that energy can be diverted. And then the second solution, she says power plants need to be modified in preparation for extreme weather.
Cheryl LaFleur is the former chair of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. She says we must put the work in to build more reliable and resilient power grids.
It's really a double strategy. We need to fight climate change. At the same time, we need to be ready for storms because we can't make everything perfect tomorrow.
What do you make of those suggestions? Are they good?
The first suggestion, I don't know that there needs to be quite as much interoperability between the Western interconnection and the Eastern interconnection. It's possible that those can be. The way those would actually be done is through, they put in these AC to DC to AC bridges in place. Mm-hmm. They're unbelievably expensive to install. And they're pieces of equipment. They're like a power plant too. They can, if we become more dependent upon those things, and then they have their own sets of issues. We can talk about a lot of these things, but if folks saw that increased their electricity bill by 35 or 40%, then there's a little bit of a different conversation that goes on. These things are all done without any consideration for who pays for it, how much does it cost. I can assure you that every one of those companies is like, okay, what do we need to retrofit this? We can't let this happen again. We can't have hundreds or multiple hundreds of millions of dollars of financial losses.
They're making changes within their own business. They don't
have
need
to. Yeah. It's a simple risk management issue for them. I'm pretty well convinced that whatever we come up with, from a better coordination perspective, because it's going to be built up from the folks that are having some risk of recovering that, it's probably going to be pretty effectively done. So I think we'll get what we want to get on a relatively cost-effective basis. The interesting thing is that we may not see these kinds of temperatures again for another 80 or 100 years, but we'll have these plants may never operate in those conditions ever again for the rest of their economic useful lives.
But if it does happen in 80 or 100 years, we're going to be ready.
Well, those plants won't be in existence.
That's a good point.
It'll be the next set.
Well, that brings me to my next question then, because Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, he claimed that the winter storm and its lingering effects was, quote, foreseeable and preventable.
What happened in 2021, quite frankly, in large part was foreseeable and preventable.
Sylvester Turner is Houston's mayor.
So if we do nothing, what happens to a city like Houston?
If you don't do anything, then you're going to repeat this movie over and over again. And it's going to cost in terms of people losing their lives, people losing their property, and it's going to affect the overall economy.
Do you agree with that?
I think for sure. I mean, it's not inconceivable. We've seen those temperatures in this area before.
Right.
We may not have seen Houston temperatures over 110 degrees here, and similar types of temperatures in Dallas in a long time. I think our highest temperature ever in Houston occurred in September, believe it or not. But it was high 100s. Yeah. That's entirely foreseeable. It is a guarantee that we're going to have high temperatures.
It's going to get hot.
We're going to have some kind of historic heat wave that will push the infrastructure to its absolute limits. There's no question. That is a guaranteed that is going to occur. As we sit here now, whether that occurs in 2 years, this summer, 20 years, it's unknown. So the real question is, who pays for building around? Like, we're always working within planning envelopes that have probabilities of occurring. It's very expensive to build new power plants. The guys that build them, they're not guaranteed to get their money back. They're at risk of that, and that's one of the reasons that we've enjoyed a pretty robust, pretty cost-effective environment for consumers in Texas that are taking advantage of the competitive markets. The market works. The market's pretty efficient.
Right.
It actually has worked, on the wholesale side pretty well. So I think, all things being equal, we're continuing to move in the direction that we want to. But anything can be done. We can build for any scenario that we want to. Yeah. It's just a probability based thing, and who's willing to pay for it. Right. And what we find consistently is that folks absolutely want to have reliable, competitive electricity service. But I don't think people are willing to double, their spend on this if it's not entirely necessary.
Jesson, thank you so much. I always enjoy having this.
Of course.
Time. Next, we'll bring Julie back into the studio for our fourth and final segment, Ogre-the-Top Savings. This is where we'll tell you about a new Energy Ogre member who saved big money with our platform.
When we sign up new members, we ask for a recent bill to assess their current account details. We then will collect their historical usage to get a sense and determine how much electricity that they tend to use. With that, we're able to develop a yearly usage profile for that member, which we use to run a bill forecast to find the best plan available to them. This forecast shows us how much each plan, including their current one, will most likely cost that member over the length of the contract. We're able to compare all the best plans and then identify the one that will save them the most money.
So late last week, we ran a bill forecast for a new member who was eager to lower her family rate, right? Her effective rate before EO, Energy Ogre, was 17.1 cents per kilowatt hour. Ouch.
Yeah.
Which is almost twice as much as the best available plans on the market right now. Now, you'd be surprised how many Texans are really overpaying up to 40, even 50% more than they have to. For this member, her new effective rate would be 9.9 cents next month. Think of the savings there. With Energy Ogre, she will lower her annual electricity expense by 49%, saving her more than $3,700 in her first year alone. Now, Julie, that's big money.
Right.
Not everyone's going to save that much, though. We probably should set the stage.
No, definitely. Not everyone will save that much money with our service. In fact, personally, I don't even spend that much on electricity in a whole year to begin with.
Right.
I typically only pay about $1,300 to power my home for the year. Now, of course, that is with an Energy Ogre selected plan. So in terms of percentages, we save average Texans between 30 to 40%. So for me, that means around $800 a year, which Either way, that amount of savings will go a long way for you. So when you factor in the customer service and the time and hassle that you save by letting us shop and then manage your account for you, Energy Ogre really is a no-brainer, no matter what size of home you have or how much electricity you use.
All right. Well, thank you, Julie, and thank you, everyone. It's a wrap for today. We want to thank you for watching, and we hope that you will share comments, leave questions, anything below, because we really love hearing from you, or even about the Energy Ogre service in general, as it's important that we have that one-on-one relationship with you at all times. So as we say, be cool, stay kind, and do great things.
It's the Ogre way.